This is a public service announcement. The following presentation contains controversial information and ideas that can change the way you view the world. What you see and hear may soon compel you to take action. Viewer discretion is advised. Throughout history, a humble yet vitally important plant has contributed to the health and prosperity of civilizations both ancient and new. From the Egyptians to the Chinese, the Romans and the Greeks, from the Vikings of Northern Europe to societies in Africa and all over the globe. It is said that oil derived from this plant was used for holy anointings. While legend has it this plant grew in southern Mesopotamia in the most famous garden of all. Described in religious texts that go back thousands of years, for centuries, many relied on this plant for both their health and their income. Thomas Jefferson, one of America's founding fathers, wrote that this plant is of first necessity to the wealth and protection of the country. And George Washington simply said this about the plant: sow it everywhere. Back then, this plant was used for everything from clothing to rope to paper, medicines and food. Little could anyone imagine back then what would happen nearly 2 centuries later in 1937, when the plant some call the Genesis plant, more commonly known as hemp, would be demonized like no other plant in history. In the late 1930s, new technologies had arrived, promising to make hemp a cheap and eco-friendly alternative to the toxic methods used to make paper and synthetic fibers. Hemp looked ready to become the go-to source for the manufacture of building materials, textiles, paper, and plastics. Hemp played a vital role in the U.S. economy until a vicious propaganda campaign was launched in the 1930s by newspaper tycoon William Randolph Hearst. You see, Hearst didn't just own 22 daily newspapers and 15 weekly papers from coast to coast. He owned the lands that grew the trees which fed his paper mills. His entire empire was threatened by hemp. And so it began. A sinister plot was seemingly hatched to slander, denounce, and literally crucify hemp by associating it with the term used in Mexico for the plant marijuana. Hearst published made-up horror stories about marijuana for years, calling it an evil weed. Propaganda films like Reefer Madness and Assassin of Youth were produced. It was all part of what looked like a cunning scheme designed to preserve the profits of corporations that poison the planet, that destroy the forests and soils, and that today puts our global ecosystem at risk of collapse. Hearst and his corporate cronies appeared to have one goal in mind: to gain enough public support so that laws could be passed banning both hemp and marijuana. And unfortunately, it worked. On August 2nd of 1937, the unthinkable happened. The Marijuana Tax Act was passed. The law imposed heavy taxes on hemp farmers. It made cultivation or any use of the hemp plant economically unfeasible. Hemp farming in America came to a grinding halt, and with it, the hope for a cleaner and better world. It was a dagger in the heart of an amazing plant, and a betrayal of you and the values you hold dear, of your family and generations to come. It was and is an American betrayal. The good news? All this is about to change thanks to what you will soon discover. Consider the following statement issued in a recent Congressional Research Service report. Although marijuana is also a variety of cannabis, it is genetically distinct from industrial hemp and is further distinguished by its use and chemical makeup. While a dark chapter in America's history may have begun in 1937, today, right now, we are witnessing the end of an era that never should have been. At a time when millions struggle financially, barely getting by, and millions more suffer with pain. In a world where economies teeter on the edge of collapse, where the global ecosystem wobbles like a top spinning out of control, we now live in a world desperate for the plant that has been wrongfully taken from you. An amazing plant that nourishes the body, enriches the earth, and as you're about to discover, provides you with the ability to make a difference. For your family, your community, and for generations yet to come. Be prepared to witness a story of rebirth, of cultures and economies, of your life and the life of our precious planet Earth. All thanks to what we like to call the Genesis plant. This great tale holds the key to your future and to our collective future as well. So where do you go from here? Watch the next video now